Sorry yung pala, hindi pa tayo live. Okay, welcome back everyone dito sa Deep Dive with Richard Dar. Masyadong excited, hindi pala na-press. Ano ba, live ba tayo or hindi? Ano ba nangyari? Bakit parang hindi nagla-live? Sinasabotage ba ako? Ayan, nag-live na tayo. Okay guys, anyways, welcome back. Thank you so much again sa lahat ng mga nag-greet sa atin sa birthday natin. My goodness, ang dami palang greetings nung binuksan natin ang Facebook natin. Kaso sabi ko nga, super busy kasi yung schedule natin. As you can see, back to back to back, I had to write articles on the Zelensky-Trump issue. So, Monday parang birthday na birthday. I had to wake up early morning, which I rarely do for writing. I usually write medyo later in the day or evening. But ito kasi very time sensitive, so I had to get the ideas out on the Zelensky issue. So you can check out yung mga articles natin, mga kameta, on the Zelensky issue. Different aspect, different dimensions. So obviously on one hand, if you look at it, I pushed for the concept of collective strategic bargaining. Basically, sa aking palagay, dapat yung mga aliado ng US, Europeans, Asians, among others ay dapat magsama-sama if they feel na medyo sumusobra ng US or medyo bastusan na or sa tingin nila ina-abandon tayo ng US. We have to have more solidarity with our European allies and friends and like-minded democracies and all of that. So that's one side of the argument. Another side of the argument, I said na you never know, baka mangyari pa dito, baka this is only not about getting rid of the Ukraine war, baka down the road, Trump will be interested in cutting a deal also with China. So there are very sensitive, many sensitive issues that we're looking at, guys. So that was one other dimension. Can everyone please turn off their internet and all? For some reason, hindi gumagana tong live ko dito. I don't know why. Kanina pa ako nasasabotage Ba't hindi na naman gumagana live natin? Buong araw na ta. Kanina pa yung live natin kay Congressman Geraldine. Shout out naman dun sa mga kaibigan natin na who helped to organize yung interview niyan. Medyo logistics and all of that. And thank you guys. Maraming salamat sa lahat ng mga nakinig sa atin kanina. Pasensya na kung medyo nagkaroon ng problema sa internet and all. I don't know what on earth is going on with my internet. Pati ngayon, parang sinasabotage na tayo. Anyway, going back to this, sabi ko lang wag masyadong clingy yung iba tanong ng tanong, kamusta ka na, parang maybe I'm just super busy, right? Kasi umaga pa lang I had to start getting the writing going. So I wrote something about the Zelensky-Trump thing nung Friday and then may mga developments over the weekend. So tinuloy naman natin ulit yung writings natin about Zelensky. So different dimensions of the issue. One is on its own terms, bakit ganyan yung stance ni Zelensky, bakit ganyan yung stance ng Ukraine. Another one I had to explain anong mga implication nito para sa Pilipinas. And then at the same time, of course, I had to also look at the big picture, long term, at yun mga dapat titignan natin over the coming years under second Trump administration, right? Okay, so pasensya na if hindi ako nag-respond right away sa mga ganon. But here I am. Kahit pagod na pagod tayo about back-to-back meetings and all, including of course yung meta natin kanina. Hindi siya meta kasi hindi maayos yung internet sa Manila Pen. Shoutout naman sa Manila Pen. Sana naman ayusin yung internet next time. But thank you very much again dun sa mga nakinig and nanood. Don't worry, there'll be a finalized version of that will come out later on. Yung finalized version sana medyo mayos-ayos na. So don't worry, we'll have that because katulad ng interview natin with Mayor Maga and other interviews, of course, I raised some of the tough questions, yung anong ginawa niyo nung panahon ni Duterte, for instance, right? Or bakit ganito yung ginawa niyo, bakit ganyan, diba? So, lahat ng mga issues na yan, tinitignan natin, right and left, different angles, guys. So, again, thank you so much again for greetings and all of that, and sorry if I was a little bit... And then, of course, as you could see, I also posted something about that. We had to also meet visiting top journalist from Milan, from Italy. So we had some serious discussion about Italy. As you know, Italy is the head of G7, and it's Prime Minister Meloni, right, who immediately convened that post-Trump Zelensky meeting kung saan all European countries showed solidarity with Zelensky among others at the G7. Practically it was NATO minus US, right? Because andun din yung Canada, andun yung Turkey, andun yung much of Europe, andun yung Britain, andun yung EU. So everyone's there basically as far as the transatlantic alliance is concerned, except Trump, right? Except the U.S. So so many developments over the weekend. So so that's why I had to pay attention to those things, and of course that's why I felt it was very important to exchange notes with our visiting friends from Italy, because Italy also has a very interesting politics. Obviously, discussion about Gramsci, Croce. And of course, most importantly, Pope Francis. We had some serious discussions about Pope Francis, what are the prospects, and then of course there were also conversations about could there be a Filipino Pope next, and what could be the implications, things like that. So very very busy tayo over the past essentially 48 hours or so. So thank you so much again sa lahat ng mga nag-greet sa atin. And pasensya na if I was not able to right away get back to everyone on Monday and all of that. Talagang sobrang hectic yung schedule natin. Very quickly today, sabi ko, habol ko pa rin yan. So first, thank you so much again for your support. I'll tell you what, the past year was really challenging. There were many setbacks. Obviously, the biggest setback was losing Lola, something that has not, to be honest, sunk in yet fully, right? But of course, Lola's spirit is with us in terms of yung, alam mo na, yung kulit and energy and all of that. There were of course other setbacks and mga other things. So, kaya ang sobrang mahalaga yung suporta niya sa atin, sobrang mahalaga itong meta natin, sobrang mahalaga, nagpapasalamat talaga sa inyo, sa inyo at saka yung mga guests natin. Wala man tayong budget na, to like, people guest on our show because they think we can have good discussions. We could have genuine discussions. Kanina, I was surprised nga si Congressman Geraldine Roman was talagang parang parang sabi ko, you wanna like really discuss it? Kasi sabi ko, it's really good to see when your guests feel comfortable to discuss very uncomfortable issues, right? So it's not like I don't put them on the spot, right? So in fairness naman. So I'm glad also to see when my guests are engaging, my guests are responding, my guests also understand that kailangan talaga natin talakayan yan. Again, as I said, Tony Talks, ayaw natin gawin yan. Except kung ito yung Tony Talks kay Kiko. I think that was a good one. I think that was a genuine one. I heard that was really done from the heart. Kaya ang ganda nung labas. But to be honest, Jen, I don't want to do those kinds of stuff. Yung mga pakit lang yung guest ko, pakit lang yung mga tanong. Tapos yung kunyari lang ganyan. Ayoko nang ganun. Ayoko rin yung binabastos yung guest. Kino-confront yung guest. Parang gotcha style. I don't like that. I like yung like serious, sit down, let's have serious discussion. So, I'm very grateful sa lahat ng mga guests natin, especially mga regular guests natin. Justice Antonio Carpio, of course, who has been a great source of legal advice, a great source of, really big picture understanding of yung constitutional order natin. Very thankful to him. By the way, of course, starting this Saturday, God willing, inshallah, we're hoping also to launch a new series na medyo regular. Kumalala niyo si Attorney Dino De Leon, right? Yung ating kabatch na competitor natin sa debate. But of course, UP were always the best. No? But yung kaibigan natin from LaSalle and Georgetown, Attorney Dino De Leon will also, of course, join us for a weekend. We'll try to break down the political issues but also legal issues. So pag-usapan natin, starting this Sunday, God willing, especially for this election season, I'm gonna launch a new series. I'm gonna use a similar title I used with my GMA show before. Remember I had the show in GMA before, not the one with Atom, the one I had alone, and I would interview like Prime Minister Mahathir, I would interview Secretary Lorenzana, yung FYI. So I'm relaunching the FYI but for these elections. So we're gonna have an FYI series kung saan pag-usapan natin basic concepts, basic facts, legal issues, political issues, how law and politics interact, foreign policies issues. So at of course, medyo mga matatandang millennial, magsama-sama yung mga mga hindi pa naman titong-tito para medyo matandang millennial, medyo magsama-sama kami. So abangan niyo yan. We're gonna launch that FYI series. And then, of course, we're also gonna have abangan with one of the great universities in the Philippines. They have agreed to host some of our podcasts dun sa kanilang eskwela. So we're looking forward to those kinds of discussions. So don't worry, we're gonna have also another favorite guest natin dyan, si Ronald Tornaga Liamas with us, God willing, next week. And then we want to have also a couple of other top experts na usually kasama natin dito. Si Professor Clive Arguelles, si Professor Ranjit Rai, among other experts. We want to have all of those people. So, for now, I'll just call it FYI because the idea is, anong sinasabi ng data, anong sinasabi ng analytics, anong sinasabi ng ebidensya, anong sinasabi ng ating saligang batas, ano yung jurisprudence, ano yung comparative issues. So, actually, yun ang reason na late ako ngayon kasi kinakausap ko yung mga potential people na pwede mag-host ng series na to, potential people na pwede natin kasama. Kasi gusto natin during the election period, especially habang umiinit itong issue ng impeachment ni Sara Duterte, itong issue ng West Philippine Sea, Team China, Team Philippines, we want to talk to different experts. So, I'm launching a different Iba na naman to. So iba to sa Pilipinas 360 degrees. Iba rin na to dun sa Changemaker series. So I'm launching another mini series as we speak. Medyo nag-Elon Musk na ako yung parang may SpaceX ka tapos may Tesla ka. Ganun. No, but kidding aside, so this is gonna be a different kind of thing. It's gonna be kind of an expert to expert discussion. So starting this Saturday, God willing, in person or over Zoom, we'll try to have almost regular, almost every week with attorney Dino De Leon to discuss the latest legal and political issues together. All right. Obviously, as you know, Attorney De Leon was also part of the legal counsel siya of former senator, and of course Attorney Leila De Lima, so matapang na tao to, and of course kapsat ko yan. May Singson siyang blood, right? So Ilocano din siya. So that's the other thing we're trying to launch here. But don't worry, andun din sila Sir Ronald and the rest will come out. So it's a different series. Parang FYI, basic facts, basic issues. Hopefully we'll have also luminaries, hopefully Attorney Te, Attorney Sarmiento, Justice Scarpio, other legal luminaries also discuss this issue, plus your usual experts on analytics and data. Anyway, so again, we're doing these things because inspired tayo sa ginagawa nyo. We're doing these things dahil maraming nangiwala sa ginagawa natin. Alam ko marami akong bashers. I see it on Reddit among others, but we also see a lot of fans, a lot of supporters, a lot of genuine support, right? So hindi lang ito cloud chasing. It's not just the tens of millions of views or engagement we get monthly. It's the quality support we're getting from you guys. So that's the best birthday gift anyone could wish for, which is this constant, regular, high quality audience and discussions. I don't mention names, but I'm actually reading your comments as they come in, especially if they're substantive comments, substantive suggestions. Sometimes you notice the point you put there. I ask our guest kung sa tingin ko, yeah, o nga, no. And sometimes I even rewind to get that in. So thank you so much for constant engagement. Sabi ko nga, at the end of the day, ang gusto natin mangyari dito ay magkaroon ng kilusan. Because, bakit natin kailangan ng kilusan? Because the world is changing as we speak. There's a global realignment as we speak. If you manage to follow the news, there was also another big shocking thing that happened last week, which is the United States voting along with Russia basically against Ukraine in the United Nations. That's unprecedented. And interestingly, not only North Korea was there, you also had countries like Hungary, like Israel, among others, basically siding with the US and basically Russia. So we're seeing global realignments. As we speak, Vladimir Putin, the president of Russia, also confirmed that he is offering to mediate between Iran and United States, between Trump and Iran, for potential new nuclear deal. So this is a totally new world, right? And don't believe me if you don't, it's okay. But some top American experts like Farid Zakaria, if you listen to his latest conversation, I suggest you with Ezra Klein, he's suggesting that Trump is also interested in a big deal with China, with Xi Jinping, whom he respects. So it looks like Trump respects China, respects Russia, respects Iran, respects countries that he feels are strong and powerful, which of course, from a liberal standard point of view, the US should not even be open to talking to or something like that, right? But anyway, so as we speak, there are global realignments there. And that's why, guys, I hope you understand where I'm coming from with my interventions. Because marami tayong mga followers na Maga. I know I have many Maga followers. Not only because si Kristan ang parating kong kasama na siya. Si Kristan kasi minsan parang, ano ba yan? Ito yung natutuwa naman yung mga Maga friends natin, mga Bitcoiner boys natin, diba? Anyway, love na love ko yung si Kristan, pero minsan parang, like, no, you think, okay, ganito, like for instance, do you honestly think J.D. Vance would have done that without prior approval from Trump? Come on, seriously. We all know how Trump operates. You are never allowed to outshine Trump. So if for some reason you're talking while Trump is there, it's because there's a prior approval. So let's just be very clear about the facts. I'm not gonna call it a sabotage, but clearly it got out of control and they ended up berating Zelensky. Now, I'm seeing a lot of DDS-style gaslighting out there, right? Which is like, oh, so you want war? Oh, you want World War III? Let me be absolutely clear, okay? Just the other year, I was like kilometers away from the Russian border. And I'll tell you what, the people there were telling me, this is in Baltic states, there was zero chance of Russian invasion. If you listen to the Finland's prime minister, the Finns, they joined NATO in the middle of war and they were not touched. Not an inch of Finland was touched by Russia. Russia didn't dare to touch Estonia, didn't even dare to touch Moldova or whatever like that. The most interference is doing is in Georgia, which is not even member of NATO. So, don't tell me it's nonsense about World War III. That's nonsense. Bugbog saradang Russia, they have 500,000 casualties. Some numbers put it at 600,000 casualties. Russia's economy is not collapsing, that's true, but it's barely growing. 1 to 2%, that's pathetic. Russia's GDP per capita is like what? 1/4 of a G7 country, right? So, and Russia is what? Selling everything it has to China and India, right? So if you talk to a lot of Russian patriots, they'll tell you, we don't like this situation. Yes, we're growing, but we're selling out everything. We're giving our best weapons, we're giving all our energy resources to Indians and Chinese and whatever, right? So, anyway, so first of all, let's be clear. There's no World War III situation. Russia has been significantly weakened and has been exposed. In fact, Russian weapon systems have been exposed. It's very, very clear that Russia's weapon systems, when it goes head to head with NATO-grade weapon system, it doesn't perform as well. In fact, I'm a big fan of fifth generation fighters. If you follow the news about Su-57s and even Su-35s, Sukhoi fighters of Russia, they're also not doing very well. And as we speak, actually in drone wars, Ukraine is emerging as a global drone power. And they pulled off some fantastic things, including using a naval gliding drone and then from there to launch a parang air to surface drone, right? Like they do like multi-drone things. They were able to basically sink and take care of the entire Black Sea fleet of Russia. Now, of course, personally, I feel bad for the Russian soldiers because for anyone who knows the reality in Russia, many of the soldiers, practically all of them, they don't want to be there. They're forced there. So these are poor conscripts kung saan kinuha. Most of the middle class who could afford it, they already escaped Russia. So I'm not gloating over those casualties. They're human beings too. I care for every single life. I don't care what's your nationality, what's your creed. I care for every life. So I'm not gloating over the death. But the reality is, Russia has been humiliated on the field. So this idea na, Russia is gonna roll over, and all, that's not true. And the only reason Russia is still holding on is because they're just mining the whole area and throwing meron silang term, meat grinder. Like they throw it literally soldiers at the bullets of Ukrainians. It's a horrible situation there. For Russia too, right? So, inis na inis when our Maga friends keep on say, kawawang Ukraine, how many more? Like, no, but Russia is also pinned down big time, right? Which means, if really Donald Trump knew art of the deal, he will actually juice out Russia and make Russia make concessions. And this is where my problem comes in. I'm all for peace, 100%, but a peace that is durable and a peace that is sensible. A peace that is sensible means, alam mo na, Russia has been exposed. Russia is also on its knees, not only Ukraine, right? The GDP of Germany alone is 2 to 3 times of that of Russia. Germany is investing $100 billion in its defense capability. They have the best tank in Europe. Give those Europeans 3 to 4 or 5 years, they're going to catch up easily militarily. They're technologically way ahead. Italy, Britain, and Japan are already developing 6th generation fighters. South Korea is already giving weapons systems to Poland. I mean, this is a multi-level complicated issue. So yung mga MAGA friends natin, nanood lang kayo ng isang Joe Rogan episode of some MAGA speechwriter of Trump and you think you know geopolitics. Nanood lang kayo ng isang Mersheimer video, you think you're John Mersheimer, he makes sense on some issues, but John Mersheimer is not the expert. He's just one of a dozen experts out there. And sometimes he gets it absolutely wrong. So my point is, let's have some humility by actually listening to 10 different dimensions of this issue, including the humility to listen to Ukraine's side. And I'll tell you what, this is where I'm absolutely disappointed dun sa mga ibang lefty dyan na walang hiya. Alam ko yung mga ibang lefty natin na kaibigan, gustong-gusto nila maging anti-US. Okay. But weirdly now, parang pro-MAGA na sila because Trump is anti-liberal and like friendly to Russia. So parang, wait, you're not a true progressive to me if you do not respect the dignity, strategic agency, and the will of the Ukrainian people. And speaking of the will of the Ukrainian people, I'll just be absolutely clear about it. It is true that Ukrainians of all people would want peace anytime. But they want a peace that is durable. You know why? Because if you bother to actually read articles and analysis from the Ukrainian perspective, and I'll give you some suggestions, some fantastic work, and also data and surveys. Actually, while Ukrainians want the war to end, ito kasing concern ng Ukraine. The war will end, but it's actually just a ceasefire. And it's badly negotiated by Trump. And then Putin will just pocket it, then invade Ukraine in 2, 3 years from now. That is exactly why Zelensky, yes, I know many people said, bakit Zelensky had to bring that out? But no, Zelensky had to make the facts clear. From 2014, when first Russia invaded basically Ukraine, taking over the Donetsk and Donbass and some of those Russian-speaking regions, and then Crimea, whatever. So this war has been there since 2014, including the 4 years of Trump during his first term, right? Russia, what? On at least a dozen occasions, violated ceasefire agreements. These are called the Minsk Agreements. Again, research, magbasa kayo. Wag lang kayo manood ng isang Maga podcast, isang Joe Rogan episode and pretend you know the issue, right? Right? Some of us bothered to go almost to the border, right? And just to be clear, I talk also to the Russians, and I in the past I supported cooperation with Russia if it helps us against China and the South China Sea because the Russians helped the Vietnamese. Like, I'm not taking. I'm looking at the facts of the case, and I care about the perspective of smaller countries. So this is it. The Ukrainians want a peace, but what they want is a bad peace deal, which just allows Putin to have a temporary respite, tanggal lahat ng sanctions, tanggal lahat ng isolation, and then Russia gets strong, then invades back again in 3 years from now. You know, even if it were true, and I will really like raise an eyebrow, that Trump is the greatest negotiator. Trump is what, 80 years old? And Trump will be gone by 2028, unless he wins another third term, but whatever. Trump will not be there forever. So if you're Ukrainian, why are you gonna trust Trump saying, just trust me, bro, just trust me? Bro, just trust me. It doesn't work that way. Kaya nga yung security guarantee issue is absolutely important because Ukrainians want a durable peace. So I completely disagree with some of the lefty friends who are hating on Ukraine just because they hate the West and then now weirdly are essentially pro-MAGA and pro-Russia. Like, what the heck? This is where I think Bernie Sanders is a legit progressive because Bernie Sanders is critical of US foreign policy, critical of Western interventions, but is also critical of Russian intervention, and is going to be critical also of Chinese intervention, right? So, going back to this, yun yung point ni Zelensky. You need to give security guarantees. Otherwise, what will stop Putin from invading us again? Even if, let's say, okay, Trump is genius and all, which he's obviously not. Even if Trump is a genius, Trump will not be there forever. Trump will probably, well, this is his last term, right? Unless they change the constitution. But even, like, Trump is 80 years old, and I think this is his last term. So what happens in 3 years from now? So the nightmare scenario from Ukraine is they go from level 2 of Dante's Inferno to level 7 of Dante's Inferno. Because if you remove sanctions on Russia today, Russia will be twice stronger in 3 years and then invade Ukraine even better. Do you get what I'm saying? Next time, Russia will be more prepared. So kaya nga, ang discussion ngayon is, what is the security guarantee? And Trump doesn't want to even talk about it. Sabi ni Trump, oh, but what if, an asteroid falls from the sky? Oh, and this is where I have a problem again with the Trump team. Again, I laid this out. The other big problem I have with Trump's position is this. Art of the deal again. Basic rule in any negotiation, you never forward deploy your concession. This is where it's very Duterte. Remember si Duterte? Pagdating sa China, immediately he shoots himself in the foot. Ay, walang kwenta yung arbitration case natin. Walang kwentang US. So, syunga. Anong leverage mo with China ngayon? If you shoot your only alliance, if you throw away the arbitration, anong leverage mo? Anong leverage mo? So, my problem ngayon is, hindi pa nga nagsimula yung negotiation. Sabi ng US, oh, they'll never be part of NATO. Oh, they'll also never get our security support. Oh, and now we're gonna cut out our security. Like, so why would Russia even agree to it? Like, use your brain, guys. Like, huwag tayo feeling maga-maga dito, di ba? Kaya sa'yo parang may pagka-DDS yung mga ibang and I'll go to the DDS aspect of the MAGA very shortly. Very shortly. But just sticking to this, guys. First, you're not giving security guarantees. Second, you're openly, and this is where disingenuous J.D. Vance. Sabi ni J.D. Vance, let's not litigate this issue in the public. Of course, after saying everything na basically Russia would love to hear, right? US nga sabi, we will not allow them into NATO, we will not allow this, allow that. Those are supposed to be negotiated behind the scenes and are part of the leverage. So US already forward deployed all concessions. Kaya nabuisit na si Zelensky. Kaya I completely understand Zelensky for losing it. Like what the heck? You don't give me security guarantee. You openly say you're going to give all of this concession to Russia. Oh, by the way, J.D. Vance said propaganda daw yung mga ginagawa namin. Like, oh wow, so kami pang masama. Like parang wow, Ako pa may kasalanan, di ba? Parang, oh wow, like victim blaming, wow. Oh, of course, Russia didn't do anything. Oh, Russia didn't invade, right? Like, invasion just happened from nowhere. Like, do you get what I'm saying? But this is where it got even worse, guys. Actually, again, kung hindi kayo nagbubulag-bulagan DDS style, I never thought this will happen. But my most viewed video of the past month is not my budots. It's not my, I don't know, yung mga Team Tatay, and this is my highest viewed of all time geopolitical video. I mean, we have like 15-20 million views yung mga patawa natin kay Robin Hood, whatever. Like 1.5 million views almost now. Papunta na tayo dyan. And this is where I think this really look bad for the US. Kasi ang lapas dito is parang binubuli lang yung Ukraine dahil mas maliit silang bansa. And this is where I think many people viscerally felt bad. Many people, including at least one active general who I quoted in, okay, I don't want to put in, but I'll tell you what, in South Korea, I was talking to my editors in Tokyo before I read, in South Korea, people are openly saying South Korea should get its own nuclear weapon. Why? Because South Korea cannot rely on US. Behind the scenes, the Japanese are having similar conversations, although much complicated. The Europeans are already saying we just should do NATO minus US, meaning tayo na lang mag-take care of Ukraine and bugbusarado natin ng Russia over. Like, it's bad. But, what's even worse than that is like, the way they berated Zelensky. I mean, look at it. This is basically parang pinapanood mo si Robin Hood, si Bato, si Bonga, tsaka parang Loren Badoy. Tingnan mo.
A lot of Americans have problems with you not...
Like,
You're the highest level in this...
Like, who's this guy?
In this country's all...
Who the heck is this guy asking questions? Binabastos lang niya si President.
Yeah, problems.
A lot of Americans have problems with you not
Really?
respecting
I
the
don't have
dignity of this
such.
office.
I will wear a costume.
I'll wear a
Before
costume.
the finish.
Okay.
Yes, maybe one.
Maybe something like this.
something like
Yes,
yours.
sir.
Yes.
That'd be great.
Maybe something
Better?
I don't know.
Maybe
We will
something
see. Maybe something
cheaper. You get what I'm saying? Like, who the heck is this guy? And then biglang may nag-comment, yan daw yung boyfriend ni Marjorie. Marjorie Taylor Greene or whatever. Parang, oh my God, like, mga QAnon. I mean, who are these people? It's like, I don't know, it's like, there's a meeting between BBM and, I don't know, another world leader, and then, I don't know, like, Lorraine Baduy or, like, whatever SMNI guy comes in and, like, berates. And by the way, isn't this the height of hypocrisy? Last time I checked, Elon Musk, forget about not wearing, Elon Musk has a cap, right? Last time I checked, there are many world leaders, and rightly so, are coming there in their national costume. People from the Gulf region, they don't have to wear suit or coat and tie. So this is completely nonsense.
Maybe something like yours. Yes. Maybe something better. I don't know. We will see.
Buti nga
Maybe
eh.
something cheaper.
You're the highest level.
What, like, who is this guy?
And you refuse to wear...
Kasi nga, tumatawa-tawa lang. Parang tumatawa si Bato, si Robin Hood. Diba? Bastos. Basically bastos. So you could see like why this resonated. So hindi ko maintindihan yung mga MAGA friends natin dinidefend pa ito. I'm all for, US protecting its own interests, but I don't know how this is gonna look good for US. I'll tell you what, guys. Even at the height of our tensions with China, I'm no fan of China. I'm very critical of China. You've seen it. They never publicly did it. Like, yes, behind the scenes, I'm sure we had shouting with everyone. That's okay. But in public, ibiberate ka ng gano'n, tapos may magtatanong, pagtatawanan ka pa, but, oy, ba't di ka nagsusud ng damit? Ganun. Tapos yung isa, oy, mag-thank you ka kay boss. Salamat ka eh, ano lang kayo. Tapos yung presidente mo, oh, without us, you're nothing. You're basically nothing. You're a small country. You're like, what the heck? China will never do that publicly. Yeah, behind the scenes, they could be a bully, but never public. They don't slap your face. This is not a good look. I'm telling you guys, this is not a good look. It's quite telling that the new Chancellor of Germany, Friedrich Merz, who worked in BlackRock, who worked in the US for a long time. So basically, the story of Merz is he was competing with Angela Merkel for leadership of CDU-CSU, Christian Democratic Union Party, and he lost the leadership fight. So he basically went into banking and then eventually landed in BlackRock, and he was very on US-Germany alliance. Now he's openly saying we should be fully independent from US. And yung mga kamaga natin na pinagtatawanan ng Europe, you never laugh at the Germans. You never underestimate the Germans. I'm telling you. If the Germans can make those beautiful cars and can make beautiful Leopard tanks, if those Germans, by the way, Germany is the third largest economy in the world. If they put their mind into it, you don't want Germany to rearm. Okay, be careful what you wish for, right? The French already have nuclear weapons. The British have nuclear weapons. So like when Trump was bullying si Starmer, right? Yung British Prime Minister, like, oh, can you take on Russians? And you're like, it's like, so you like, what the heck, right? What the heck? Finland beat Soviet Union back in the day. If you know the history of Finland, right? They beat Soviet Union during Stalin's period. They had one sniper guy, I don't know, who killed like 140 people in Winter War. So, what I'm saying, guys, here is, kung ang information level mo lang is nanood ka ng dalawang Maga, Joe Rogan. By the way, I love Joe Rogan for different reasons. I love his MMA, Jiu-Jitsu, whatever comment. I love it. I've been watching him since Zuffa days, nung parang illegal pang itsura ng UFC, right? But, dude, if you have just watched, right? If you just watch like to Joe Rogan, with some MAGA speechwriter of Trump, and you think you're an expert in geopolitics, get out of here, right? Just don't. Kaya ako, like, on Twitter, I'm just, like, laughing off at people. Like, seriously, you're lecturing me? So, no, open-minded lang tayo. Makinig ka, like, I don't wanna listen to SMNI, eh. Hindi ko favorite. Like, basically, they're SMNI to me, right? Yung level. And then, like, many of their arguments are not even new. Like, their criticism of US aid. Hello, I've been hearing that from lefty people for the past, 30 years of my life. Like, what are you talking about? So, anyway, I roll. Going back to this, the basic issue here is, binastos isang allied country na obviously, sa gitna ng gyera, ginawa pang issue yung kanyang costume. Well, guess what? Zelensky is wearing that in solidarity with the men, ordinary Ukrainian men who are dying. So this is his type of leadership. That guy could have died any moment when Russia invaded. I remember I was in Europe when the invasion happened. And I was in Munich Security Conference when Zelensky gave his speech. You can go to Monocle magazine. I wrote a dispatch from. Everyone thought tapos na siya. Patay na yan. Wala na yan. That guy stayed. His family stayed. He live streamed from Kiev while invasion was happening. And then he turned it around. I will choose that guy in terms of courage over whatever cosplaying clown out there or yung mga Dodgers ng draft or whatever. Like, seriously, guys. Like, come on. Come on, seriously. So, of course, I 100% respect the decision of the American people to make sure their taxpayers' money goes to the right thing. Kaya nga, exactly, negotiate a good deal para tapos na yung Ukraine war and then we can move on. But if you're just gonna say the talking points of Russia, if you're just gonna bastos and berate Ukraine, you're gonna pick a fight with Ukraine, you're gonna vote along Russia, like, forget about it. Like, forget about it. It's just so ridiculous. Like, minsan natatawa na lang ako. But for me, guys, that was visceral. You can say whatever you want. I heard a lot of victim blaming. Oh, Zelensky, how dare you? Why did he do that? He's begging us. Yeah, but this guy actually is a world hero already to many people. Maybe not to our MAGA friends, maybe not. But actually, Zelensky is highly respected. Look at it. Just a day later, he's meeting the King of England. He's treated like a world hero. He's being compared to Churchill. But actually, I think that's not a good comparison because unlike Churchill, he was not an imperialist. He's just defending his country from an imperialist power who happens not to be Western, right? Kaya inis din ako dun sa mga fake leftists who are supporting Russian invasion. Like, hello, how are you progressive if you're supporting the invasion of a smaller country, right? Ukraine is just trying to defend itself. But anyway, what I'm telling you guys is we're in the midst of a global realignment like nothing before. Trump is not invested at all in the whole NATO, transatlantic, values-based international space order. For now, things look good for us in the Philippines because there are people like Marco Rubio, there are people like, whatever, who are focused on China and see the Philippines and Taiwan as a important ally. And we got so see, I'm talking about the facts, right? And there are people like Elbrish Colby, who we interviewed on this show and also on my TV show, who talks about, sige, alis na tayo sa Europe, agree ako. Alis tayo sa Middle East, focus tayo sa China, good. Except, how do we know these people will finally shape the U.S. foreign policy? Because there's another very influential wing, which is they're called restrainers, but you can call them isolationists, you can call them MAGA people. Basically, the idea is that let's just cut a deal with all the big guys, big boys, right? And that's it. Let's just avoid any war because war is bad for U.S. economy. We have to rebuild ourselves. Again, I completely understand that from a very simplistic, narrow nationalist point of view, but So, but if you're Philippines, right, you don't like to hear that, right? So, what I'm saying is that huwag tayong mag-complacent. Kaya sabi ko, we have to build our own defense capability. We have to work with Europeans while also making the most out of our alliance. So, I'm just saying, there's so many moving parts kasi. So, when I hear our MAGA friends saying, no, Richard, you don't know. There's a method to the madness. It reminds me of the DDS saying, no, Richard, there's a Sun Tzu art of war to what Duterte is doing. You don't see like, no, sabi ko hindi. He's just a barangay geopolitics level guy. He doesn't know what he's talking about. And mabubudol lang siya ng ibang bansa dahil he's unsophisticated, he doesn't understand geopolitics. Maybe he can run the vow, maybe not. Yung parang si Zelensky. Maybe something better, maybe something cheaper, maybe, No, but digong wala. Wala siyang nakuha sa China. Saan yung mga billions of investment? Wala siyang nakuha sa... Anyway, so I'm just saying, that DDS MAGA, honestly, is a lot of... okay, no offense, right? But then again, of course, you should hope for the best na this means just US getting rid of wars in Europe and Asia and Middle East so that it can focus on China. In theory, yeah, I'm all for that. In fact, there's another thing I discussed, yung sabi ko, reverse Nixon. Remember Richard Nixon and Kissinger, their ultimate genius was they got the number 2 communist power to side with them against the number 1 communist power, right? So when Nixon, first Kissinger, then Nixon, cut a deal with Mao Zedong, and then China sided with US against Soviet Union. So if you follow the Indochina Wars, nagsamang US and China against Vietnam backed by Soviet Union. So we felt that in our own region. Now, I call it reverse Nixon. I was asking this last year pa. So if you watch my program on View from Manila, I was asking this of our American guests, what if Trump wants to pull off meaning, now Russia is the weaker one between China and US, so you get Russia on your side, and then you isolate China. Now, in theory, you would hope for that, but how do you know that Trump will not cut a deal with China? Remember, China has the second largest economy in the world. It has one of the most advanced technologies in the world. I mean, look at their cars, look at their electronics, look at how cheap they are. China can easily offer Trump some sort of concessions to make him look good. And then maybe in exchange will say, maybe you don't want to be too much with Taiwan. Like, okay, tell me, how many times Trump said, I will go and fight for Taiwan and the Philippines? No, I'm not talking about I'm talking about Trump himself. You tell me. How many times? Please show me. I'm talking about now, hindi in Trump 10 years ago, 5 years ago. I'm talking about Trump now. Show me how many times Trump said, I'm willing to go to war to defend Taiwan or whatever. So that's what I'm saying, yung mindset na, hindi, sorry na lang sa Ukraine na, pasensya na pare, kasi kailangan na kami nang unahin mo, yung ganyan mindset. Dangerous mindset. As I said, hope for the best, prepare for the worst. So hope for the best, meaning reverse Nixon ang mangyari, Trump maybe will isolate China, end wars in Ukraine and the Middle East. Yeah, I hope so. Honestly, that's what I hope will happen. Gusto ayoko nang magkaroon ng war anymore in Europe. Ayoko ng war sa Middle East. I hope there will be a peaceful deal with Iran. I hope there will be a peaceful situation in Ukraine, and then matapos na yan. Para makafocus na sa China. Yeah. But how sure are we that he's not gonna cut a deal with China? Come on. You think you read a book by Trump? By the way, he doesn't really write his own books. Come on, seriously. Like, you think Trump really wrote those books? You think Trump writes like books? Like, come on. I tell you what, I've written books. It's one of the hardest things. Like, some people say it's almost like giving birth to, like, it's like years of writing. Trump doesn't. Come on, those were ghostwritten. But anyway, enough of that. I'm just minsan lang kasi parang na-eye roll talaga ako. I mean, people who should have known better, they're easily falling for things. We have been here before. Kaya ako, for me, it's so easy to analyze Trump kasi I have been analyzing Trump-like figures. I've been analyzing Modi, Erdogan, Duterte, Prabowo, and like, there are similarities. I know that this kind of macho diplomacy, ganun. Basically, if I have a framework, there could be a Trump light and a maximalist Trump. A Trump light is, he's just doing this tactically speaking, but at the end of the day, he's just moving the needle a bit, meaning Europe will be more proactive, he'll focus more on China. But guys, that's the best case scenario. There's no assurance that will be the case. And then there could be a maximalist Trump who will say just forget about liberal order, international order. Remember, what is J.D. Vance and Trump saying? Our biggest enemies are inside, meaning Democrats, liberals. Guess who the Russians hate? They hate liberals. Guess who the Chinese hate? Liberals. And the next thing you know, they're actually Russia and US were voting together in UN. Like, I'm just saying, you will be a fool not to think of the possibility that actually something bigger could happen here, which is completely reordering of the global order, right? Restructuring of the global order. Why is it impossible? Because you have trust? Like, come on. Anyway, as I said, let's hope for the best. My best hope is reverse Nixon ang mangyari dito. But my fear is something else could happen. It may not be the worst case scenario, but we have to be smart. We have to be prepared. We shouldn't be naive, guys. Especially because we're a smaller country, so you have to play smart. We have to make sure meron tayong strategic autonomy. Gladly in April, we're gonna have a meeting with a dozen other countries na similar sa atin, I think with French, with Germans, whatever. And my sense is Macron might visit Manila after his visit to Singapore in late May. So April, we have that. So there are a couple of big meetings coming up whereby tayo mga mid-sized countries and allies will work together also. I call it collective strategic bargaining. So we have to, what I'm saying, we have to think along those terms. Now, lastly, don't worry, I'll talk about Philippine politics too. So, the other day I saw this article on Esquire. Kasi, and it's perfect kasi inaasar ko yung kaibigan ko. Yung mga, alam mo yung mga Pinoy friends natin na based in America, tapos magko-comment sila, parang good luck sa Pilipinas kasi may good morning, tapos meron kang, bakit? Ikaw gumawa na, and then sabi ko, hindi, good luck din sa inyo sa US. Parang ganun din ako ngayon. So anyway, so we have, some really well-meaning Filipinos, like for instance, si Loida Nicolas Lewis. Meron siyang itong interview with Esquire magazine. Of course, this is the month of ng mga kababaihan. This is about women empowerment. So she's obviously one of the most successful Filipinas out there, and kudos to her. I think she has great intentions for the country and all of that. At the same time, parang nalungkot ako na ganyan yung parang I'm almost giving up on the Philippines. Yung ganyan. Well, I'll tell you what. Kami na lang dito. We're dealing with this every day. Believe me, a part of us was like, hindi lang giving up. I was like parang ganun na lang ako, diba? But, I'll tell you what. We do not have the luxury of giving up on our countries or the world. Whether you're American, whether you're Filipino, whether you're whatever, we have to hold the line, right? And we have to do it in the right way, in the smart way. Do not forget that good candidates like Riza Ontiveros still won. And maybe the reason why some of the good candidates didn't win are because maybe they were really not that good. Or maybe they were not really that effective. Or maybe you have to support other people who could be better candidates. Do you get what I'm saying? But even more important than that, more than tactical issue is, milyon sa ating mga kababayan, they need our help in whichever way we can. So in my own little capacity, whoever is the government, I try to push them, ayusin nyo naman yung West-Philippine Sea policy nyo. Ayusin nyo naman yung domestic policies nyo. Ayusin nyo naman yung infrastructure policy. Because you know what, guys? Every single policy that goes wrong could affect the lives of millions of Filipinos. Bawat piso na kinukurakot, bawat infrastructure project na pumapalpak, bawat kada kilo ng bigas na napapanis dahil palpak yung storage, bawat polisiya na mali sa trade policy na nasisira yung mga businesses natin yung mga industriya natin sa Marikina, bawat Robin Hood Padilla na kakapasok sa... You get what I'm saying, right? That affects lives of millions of our ng ating mga kababayan who do not have the luxury of living in the US or migrating to another country or having, 3 other places. So what we're doing is also for those people, right? Marami sa ating kababayan, they have no options. They're here and they're suffering, and the least we can do is not to give up on them because we at least have the privilege of being able to help them and help ourselves. So, naintindihan ko yung frustration ng mga ating kababayan, especially mga frustration natin mga Philam, na mga kababayan at mga cousins, etc. Siyempre nakaka-depress. Trump dito, mga, I don't know, Revilla, gets ko yan. But guys, it can always get worse, right? And if you don't put on the fight, it's gonna get even worse. And what's gonna happen is, maybe some of us can just migrate or whatever, pero paano naman yung mga kababayan natin who don't have that luxury? So, we should do this out of a sense of duty. We don't do things because we feel good about it. We don't do things because we're succeeding. You have to do things precisely when you feel you're not succeeding, or maybe that your chance of succeeding is very small. That's commitment. That's conviction. Doon mo malalaman. Madali naman maging progressive and pag everything is going well eh. Magkakaalaman tayo when things are really tough. And magkakaalaman tayo ano yung mabuting strategy, tactics, adjustments. You know, for me, we have no luxury of depression. We have no luxury of cynicism. What we should do right now is to think very clearly, how do we bring back sanity to politics? How do we end all of this fight between wokes and Maga and all of that? How do we make sure we don't go into a real World War III? How do we make sure that the Philippines defends its interests? How do we sure we encourage America to move in the right direction? Guys, obligasyon natin yan. Hindi ako bilyonaryo, I'm an ordinary, well, not super ordinary, but you know, I mean, I'm not like, I don't have the privileges of a lot of people out there. But in my own little capacity, this is what I'm doing. So, please lang, ang aking mungkahi, sabihin natin, parang naging Zelensky, maybe cheaper, maybe better. Yung siguro request ko na lang or mungkahi ko na lang, you know, for the sake of yung ating mga kaubayan. I mean, if you're American, for the sake of ordinary Americans who are gonna suffer from the effects of Trump's tariffs, you think Trump's tariffs is not gonna hurt Americans in terms of inflation? You think if Trump gets something wrong, it's gonna... Ordinary people will always suffer when bad politics happen. And that's exactly where the middle class, the privileged people should come in. Because dun talaga kailangan sila. At the very least, we have to help with damage control. Even more, we should nudge our governments, other governments in the right direction. You know, in my own little ways, I'm not hating it. I'm hoping US will do the right thing. I understand if America wants to end wars. Of course. Taxpayers' money yan. Of course, it's difficult. They don't want to get into... I understand that. Kaya we're also hoping they'll do the right thing. They'll end the wars in the Middle East. They'll end the wars in Europe. Sana tulungan tayo and we'll have a kind of a balance of power here in Asia na maganda. Yeah. And here sa Pilipinas, hindi ko binoto si Marcos. Marami siyang palosiyan na hindi ko gusto. But the best we can do, guys, is not to give up on our country, but push this administration to do well until 2028. And then in 2028, let's make sure the right people get elected. And guess what? Ngayon pa lang we should invest in those people. So, ang payo ko, hindi lang mungkay. Payo na to, medyo magyabang na tayo. Ang payo ko lang sa mga kaibigan natin, iba, instead of giving up on the Philippines, go and find change makers and champions that maybe you overlooked before. Go invest in people who are staying in the Philippines and fighting the good fight even against all the odds. Even against the grain of, you know, all of this cynicism and all of that. Invest in the right people. Look for better candidates. Meron ka na already, Riza Ontiveros, nanalo na nga. Hindi naman, maybe you want to support people like that. Maybe you want to rear the next Riza Ontiveros. Maybe younger version, maybe a male version, maybe a LGBT version. Do you get what I'm saying? Dapat ganyan ang mindset. Especially when you have the privilege. On so many levels. So yun lang talaga yung advice ko. So, actually, payo yan. Hindi na mongka yan. Payo yan. Talagang payo ko yan. And I'm telling that as someone who has been here since Duterte years, I'm still here. Hindi ko binoto si Digong, hindi ko binoto si Marcos. Maraming bagay na hindi ko nagustuhan sa nangyari sa ating bansa, right? It's not like I never had options to like, you know, move somewhere else or whatever. But telling you, obligasyon ko yan. Ako kasi nag-graduate ako from UP. But this is not just because I'm UP. This should apply to any Filipino, right? Kung meron kang privilege, meron kang boses, meron kang platform, the least you can do is not to give up. But more importantly, use that voice to nudge things in the right direction, to hold the government to account, and encourage. I mean, honestly, Philippines is actually not that bad. I mean, things were way worse during Duterte. And 20 years ago, we were way poorer. These are objective facts, guys. AJK numbers are lower. West Philippine policy issues better. Our GDP per capita is double before. Yes, inflation is bad. Yes, and sabi ng friends, worst budget ever, whatever, you know. Yeah, but come on. Objectively, ask people. You know, I have many European friends who have not been in the Philippines for 20 years. I've met a lot of foreigners who came to the Philippines for the first time and they were surprised. They said, "Oh, actually the Philippines is much better than I thought." Like, yung idea nila ng Philippines is like lahat na lang squatter, lahat na lang kawawa, lahat na lang parang babawa ka lang ng airport, sasaksakin ka. Ganon. And then they come like, "Oh, actually you have a middle class." And I'm not talking about the BGC Makati. And I'm like, "Oh, okay. Mukhang maayos ang QC, mukhang maayos ang Ortigas." Oh, mukhang, 'di ba? Kaya nga tama si si Senator Trillanes, di ba? Sabi niya, dapat Caloocan rin, napag-iwanan ng Caloocan, umunlad ng QC, umunlad ng ang Pasay, di ba? Sorry, Pasig under Vico. BGC, it was not even there 20 years ago, di ba? The way it is right now, di ba? Yung fourth strip na, tatanggalin na, di ba? So, yeah, that's what I'm saying, guys. That's what I'm saying. I'm just so sick and tired of simplistic analysis. I'm just so sick and tired of this. Ayoko na, ganyan na, guys, we have an obligation, guys. If you have a voice, you have a platform, do that. Whatever following I have here, I gain that. I work hard for that. This one, every single day nagmeta tayo kahit pagod na pagod ako because naniniwala ko na may obligasyon ako sa ating bayan. Even if you don't agree with me, even if you think walang kwenta yung sinabi ko, although, okay, never mind. Baka masira man. Maganda na yung momentum natin, hindi ko nasisirahin, right? You get what I'm saying, guys? We cannot afford the luxury of cynicism dahil marami sa ating mga kababayan I have no issue, like, they have none of the privileges most of us have. So let's do it for the sake of them. Let's not do things just because it makes us feel better, because it makes us, it's not about, it's not about keep on going when things are good. It's about keep on going when things are not that good. And keep on going even when you're not very sure, or you may even think things will never go good. And then suddenly, good surprises happen. Because good surprises do happen. 10 years ago, who thought there would be someone like Vico Soto? 2 years ago, who would have thought Riza Ontiveros will be kind of a more mainstream? I mean, I know people are like right-wing, almost proto-fascist, but they like Riza Ontiveros. I have friends who are like Maga or ex-DDS who like Riza Ontiveros. I have Maga friends who like Franz Castro. Yeah, like I can go on and like there's so many things happening, guys. Baka naman we're not just paying the right attention to the right people, right? By the way, I'm not talking about myself, just to be clear. Baka sasabihin niya ba, Richard, baka sinasabi mo dapat no, just to be clear, right? Sino ba naman ako, di ba? But I'm just saying, pay attention. Ang dami siya, I don't know if you, I suggest listen to my interview with Leloy Claudio. Shout out, by the way. By the way, si Leloy Claudio, the other day he was with yung isang lodi natin, si Pita, yung naging muntik na prime minister ng Thailand. He's just 42 years old, highly educated guy, very smart guy. You can ask Leloy about him, very impressed. I don't know if he's in Stanford now or something, but anyway, great guy. 42 years old, almost became prime minister of Thailand. He got the biggest share of votes in parliament. Yun lang, malas lang siya because in Thailand is not a real democracy. But we need something like PITA in the Philippines. We need something like Future Forward, Move Forward Party in the Philippines. Why can't we? If Thailand can do it despite having military coups and whatever, why can't we do that? So ang advice ko lang, payo ko sa mga kaibigan natin, invest in the next generation. Find the next Vico Soto. Find 10 other Vico Soto. Find 100 other Vico Sotos. Tama na, don't invest. Alam mo, baka nga hindi nag-work dahil hindi magandang candidates yung mga iba. Baka nga, I don't know. Or baka maling strategy. Pero siyempre, hindi natin pwedeng pag-usapan, di ba? Kasi lahat naman, basta pagtalo, dayaan lang naman or disinformation. Di ba? I mean, again, I don't want to be mean, but if ganyan yung mindset mo, natalo lang dahil, so, how do we explain Riza Ontiveros winning? Riza still won in 2022. Oh, you tell me. Right? Maybe we should learn from people. Maybe we need 100 more Riza Ontiveros. We need 100 more Vico Sotos. And by the way, there are actually many similar to these people. Yung sinasabi ni Leloy, they're, hopefully if we get to interview Riza Ontiveros, actually she has a number of favorites na mga kabataan. Yung iba, kabatch pa nga yata namin in UP Ateneo back in the day, in Debate Society, who are running at the LGU level. You don't know about them because they don't have high profile, but actually they're changing the lives of thousands of Filipinos, if not millions of Filipinos, and one day they could be your next presidential candidate, if not more. So yun ang gagawin natin. So dito, in this month of women empowerment, Let's look for let's support people like Rizal Tiveros. So by the way, congratulations on the front page of Tatler magazine. Great. And let's look for the next Rizal Tiveros, right? Let's look for the next Vico Sotos. This is what we can do because there are a lot of them. I'll tell you what, even kami ng mga nobodies, like 5 years ago, you didn't have channels like Christians channels or Chris channels or my channel. We were not even around 5 years ago on YouTube and all of that. I was in mainstream media. The others, I don't know what, Bitcoin, si ano, ganyan. Now we're all active. So that means it's possible, guys. It's possible. You have to invest in that. Okay. Yes, tapos na yung sugar rush nung cake ko from kahapon. I gained like 2 kilos yata sa cake and all. So I had to just burn it down. So thank you so much, guys. Maraming salamat. So abangan nyo, every Saturday, God willing, we'll try, or at least once a week, we'll try to also have one with Attorney Dino De Leon, another young and very smart and good guy, and his heart is in the right place. Pag-usapan natin ang legal issues, political issues. So this is what I do in my own little way. Collaboration, working with different people, brains together, ideas together. Let's think, let's move forward, future forward. Literally in Thailand, they almost became the ruling party, right? If Thailand can do it, we can do it too. We just have to look for the right people and invest in the right people. All right? Muchas gracias. Thank you very much for all of your great greetings and your well wishes. And pasensya na if I said something, medyo nangasar ako. You know me, sometimes nangasar lang ako. But I hope you know where I'm coming from, right? And yeah, maybe I was Italian in my other life kasi kapag ko yung Italian ambas like, you're like as Italian. Like we were talking like that. It's like the energy and all. Like, yeah. I mean, I love Italian politics also actually because ang dami mo matutunan. Like it's weird. Like they have a right-wing government and then like pure pro-Ukraine and they have left-wing. Makulit ang Italian politics. It's one of exciting. As one Italian said, Italy is the laboratory for political experimentation. And of course, it's where Lodi natin si Antonio Gramsci came from. On that note, thank you very much. God bless. Maraming salamat. And please continue to support us naman dito sa New Year natin. That's the best birthday you can give us always. Is your love, is your support, your prayers, and also spreading the words. Tell more people to watch us. Tell more people to recommend us. Not me myself, I myself, like yung interview natin, yung matino natin na kausap. Alright? And you have a couple of uploads and more uploads to come soon. So please, thank you very much. Thank you very much. And